Tonight on the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror, they thought he was the answer to their prayers, but instead, he was their nightmare. Elizabeth Banks, David Denman, in Brightburn. Beware of what you wish for. You might just get it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another year of the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror. Yes, once again, it is that time of year where I rise from the grave to review movies for 31 straight nights and revel in the madness and mayhem and the murder and the blood and the butchery. Anyways, so yes, tonight, episode number 1. And of course, we must reveal the new title for this year's effort, which was the one that was the only suggestion. And that is Nightmare Baby Circus. You failed me, my watchers, you have failed me. But alas, I must go on with the Nightmare Baby Circus. Anyways, so tonight, starting off, kicking off year number 9 of this madness is a request fulfillment, also the only request gotten by the same person who suggested the name. Anyways, whatever. So tonight's movie is Brightburn. So what is Brightburn about? Well, it is about a married couple who are struggling to have a child. They evidenced by their bookcase having all kinds of fertility books and infertility books. Anyways, they're hoping and they're wishing, and one day something happens outside of their home. They go and investigate it, and it's a spaceship, and inside is a little baby. And oh man, they finally get to have their baby. They decide to raise it as their own, and 10 years later, the kid starts to develop powers. So, wow, this is Superman right off the bat. However, it's a little bit different because the powers are awakened inside of him, as well as some sort of mission, basically. And all of a sudden, when you give a hormonal kid superpowers and people start to cross him and go against his wishes, well, you can find out by watching this that people end up getting hurt quite horribly. So, let's get on with the scores. Violence and gore, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. Look, the deaths mostly in this movie are pretty brutal, and there is quite a bit of gore in some of these deaths. However, it's kind of few and far between. The body count isn't very high unless you count, like, end credits thing with, but, and sort of the thing that happens at the end. But that's, you don't really see anything in those situations. So, yes, the violence that is here has an impact. However, it's, few and far between, so I can't give it a 4 or higher. 3.5 out of 5. But yes, be prepared, because the violence that does show up is pretty brutal. So moving on to shock value, I'm giving it a solid 3 out of 5. Look, the way they shot this really created quite a few jump scares, which were pretty effective. And honestly, this part of the movie is kind of really what hones in on the whole horror element. Yes, sure, the violence is kind of extreme and kind of shocking in its own right, but outside of these tense hide-and-seek moments and the jump scares, you would not think of this as a horror movie. You would think of this as just an action movie or a different take on the Superman story. But with these moments that are really actually kind of intense and gets your anticipation going. So I think they did a pretty good job with the horror elements within this movie. So the shock value, 3 out of 5. Good job, guys. Good job with that stuff. Plot, I am going to give it a 3 out of 5. Look, it is a what-if scenario about Superman. However, they also kind of make it about, I guess you could say, a loose allegory about how children change, how, your parents have an expectation, and then when they don't meet that expectation, and the sort of the struggle to, like, what do I do about my problem child? Cranked up to 11 because of the superpower issue. Otherwise, it's kind of basic. Like I said, it's a different take on the whole Superman origin story, so it's not completely original, but yeah, I think it has enough elements and the plot flows good enough to be above average. However, because it doesn't do enough to establish some of the character choices, this kid kind of turns real quick, and you don't get a lot of the struggle or even a sense of there being any kind of conflict within him about what's going on with him and his powers. And, there's like a scene where he's like, I want to do good. And the thing is, I don't believe that. I mean, he might be lying in the scene. It might be intentional that he's lying, but he seems sincere when he gives the delivery. The thing is, up to that point, you don't, because he seems to be very sociopath and laissez-faire about his powers and about who he's going to hurt and things like that. So, yeah, it didn't do enough job with certain character growth in the story, and I think that kind of lets the movie down a bit. However, it is a quick watch, and the plot goes quickly, which is good because kind of in the beginning, it's a little, it takes a little bit to get rolling in the beginning, but then it takes off and it's pretty quick. So 3 out of 5. Some room for improvement with that. Acting, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. The performance of the parents are really good. The performance of the kid is hit or miss with me. Some of the ancillary characters seem a little flat and shallow. But then again, the focus is the kid and the parents. And they do a great job. For the most part, the kid, like I said, a little uneven. 3.5 out of 5. Still pretty solid. I like the emotion and the torn feelings, like the father realizing that things are going really bad and his decision, like he's got to do something, and the mom who just, this was her chance. This is her one kid. This is the only kid she's ever going to have, and then she can't handle the fact that he might be turning into a monster. So yeah, there are some powerful performances in there. Not like, A+ level, but pretty good ones. 3.5 out of 5. Moving on to Nudity, 0.25 out of 5. There is a naked, eviscerated woman for a brief moments. So, yeah. 0.25 out of 5. Do as you will with that. Anyways, moving on to enjoyment factor, I am giving this a solid 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed the movie. It after the slight slow beginning, the pace picks up and moves rather well. I would have liked it to have a bit more violence, a bit more murder, and I would have liked a little bit more development with the kid character and have him have some sort of conflict about, all of a sudden I've got these powers, I'm just going to be an evil bastard, whatever. I mean, just, have a little emotion in that situation, but I guess, I don't know, he's an alien, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, so 3.5 out of 5, pretty solid, but my overall impression is a 3 out of 5. The movie itself, strip away some of the components, it's just a very basic movie. There's not a whole lot going on. There's not a whole lot of nuance to it, in my opinion. And the elements that I really liked. And the elements that I didn't like didn't bother me enough. So I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. It is a solid movie. I would suggest watching it, especially if you want a kind of different twist on the superhero genre. And that averages out to a 2.8 out of 5. Brightburn. It's like, what do we do about Kevin type of movie? Or, well, I don't know, maybe, not quite like that. But yeah, when you have a kid who is looking like a sociopath, what do you do about that? Because, it's your kid, you love him, but you also know that this kid is going to hurt people and something has to be done. And how are you going to do it? How are you going to reach the kid? Or ultimately, how are you going to try to stop the kid? Anyways, so there you have it. Brightburn, movie number 1 in the books. The request in the books. And I enjoyed it. Could have been a bit better. Could have elevated itself. But overall, fine movie. What did you think? Have you seen Brightburn? Please leave a comment in the comment section, even though I know you won't. Don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, subscribe, click the bell, notifications, all that stuff that you're supposed to say in YouTube, even though it doesn't matter. No one's watching anyways. But I am Zankoku, your host, and hopefully for much more fun nights on the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror Nightmare Baby Circus. With that being said, remember, everybody, stay scary, internet, and I will see you next time. Also, if you find an alien child in your backyard, you probably should call the police. Radiation, diseases, microbes. Honestly, it could have gone even worse than what we got. So, I don't know. Anyways, so I will talk to you later.